Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Miguel Nuva, and I am back for another March to the King Godzilla 2018 video, and it's Monster Monday once again. Now, today's video, I want to talk about the development of King Kong vs. Godzilla. Now, I made a video about this last week, but that video was recorded before we got all the updates on the status of King Kong vs. Godzilla, and that was actually talking about a potential King Kong vs. Godzilla, but we've gotten a lot closer since then. Anyway, here we go. We almost got a sequel to King Kong vs. Godzilla as far back as 1963. Toho saw how successful King Kong vs. Godzilla was, and there's actually an unmade movie called Continuation King Kong vs. Godzilla. Toho was going to use King Kong again that next year to fight Godzilla one more time, and rumor has it that Godzilla might have actually won this time, but there's little known about this movie. The second time Toho tried to do it was for their 60th anniversary. They wanted to do Godzilla vs. King Kong in 1991 in the Heisei series, but Turner, I believe, at the time owned the rights to Kong, and they shut the idea down because they wanted too much money for licensing fees. Toho then tried to do Godzilla vs. Kong instead of Godzilla vs. King Kong, and just like with King Kong, Turner shut down that because they wanted just as much money for Kong because they felt that the image of King Kong was what was worth the money. So Toho did Godzilla vs. King Ghidorah instead in 1991. The idea of Godzilla vs. King Kong has seemed far off since then, but when Godzilla came to Warner Brothers and Legendary in 2014, we didn't really think there was there was possibilities that maybe King Kong vs. Godzilla could happen. Then at Comic-Con, Legendary confirmed they were working with Universal on Skull Island, and Pacific Rim 2 was coming out. So then there was talks about a Legendary cinematic universe with Godzilla, Pacific Rim, and King Kong in it. But once again, these were all still fan dreams, but we had got close to King Kong vs. Godzilla. Godzilla vs. King Kong just recently became a big possibility again when Legendary announced that they were moving production of Skull Island to Warner Brothers, where Godzilla is under production between Warner Brothers and Legendary. Godzilla and King vs. King Kong is the closest it's ever been since '62. They are both in America, they are both Legendary, and they are both with Warner Brothers now. And I think the possibility of the crossover is going to happen this time. I think we're getting Godzilla vs. King Kong. I don't think we're getting it in 2018. I think they're going to do Skull Island Godzilla 2. I don't know if we'll get Godzilla vs. King Kong for Godzilla 3, but there's a couple ways they can do this. Let me start with all the rumors. The only thing officially confirmed right now is that Skull Island is going to be with Legendary and Warner Brothers. That's the only thing official. Everything else going forward is my fan wishes and rumors that we've heard. Here is the first rumor. The rumor is that Godzilla 3 will be Godzilla vs. King Kong. I don't actually see that happening, and here's the reason. Legendary has the rights for the three Toho monsters, Mothra, Rodan, and King Ghidorah. In order to fit King Kong into Godzilla 3, I think they would have to change Godzilla 2 into Ghidorah, the three-headed monster, and put Rodan, Mothra, and King Ghidorah in one movie. Unless they want to bump the movie up to 2.5, 3 hours, I don't think they're going to put 3 new monsters in the film with Godzilla. I think we're still getting Godzilla 2 and Godzilla 3 with Mothra, Rodan, and King Ghidorah. I've already explained it. I think we're getting Mothra versus Godzilla versus Rodan in 2018, and then we're getting Ghidorah, the three-headed monster, in whenever Godzilla 3 comes out. I think King Kong vs. Godzilla will come out after that, especially if the Godzilla trilogy does well, and then Skull Island does well. I think in 2024, for Godzilla's 70th anniversary, we could get Godzilla vs. King Kong. Another rumor that I heard is that King Kong vs. Godzilla would be a standalone film, meaning the King Kong and Skull Island might be the same King Kong, or they might connect it to Skull Island, but we would see a brand new Godzilla. And this idea actually excites me the most personally, because Legendary Godzilla looks good and he's doing good, but I like him as a hero in the movie. Toho's going to be making a new Godzilla. I kind of hope that turns into a mini-series, maybe 3 or 4 movies for them. But to create a third new Godzilla in King Kong vs. Godzilla, they can get an American evil Godzilla. Well, not an evil Godzilla, but a villain Godzilla in American films. Because if King Kong and Godzilla fight, either they're going to have a brief fight and team up and defeat a third monster later, or one of them has to play the bad guy, and I think Godzilla will play the bad guy. He fits a bad guy better than King Kong. Godzilla is bigger than King Kong. He has his atomic breath. He has his tail, and he just looks meaner than King Kong. King Kong is also America's monster, so I think King Kong will play the hero. Now, here's the rumors of what Universal is getting in return. Universal, once again, this is a rumor, Universal will get the rights to have King Kong attractions at their Universal parks. They'll get the rights to have Godzilla attractions at the Universal parks. But they also will get King Kong and Godzilla in Pacific Rim 3. As I mentioned before, Guillermo del Toro wants to have Godzilla in Pacific Rim 3. But if he gets King Kong 2, I bet you King Kong would go with Godzilla in Pacific Rim 3. I don't think anybody would say, we'll take Godzilla, but we don't want Kong, or we'll take Kong, but we don't want Godzilla. If these rumors are true, we could get King Kong vs. Godzilla as a standalone film. It connects to Skull Island, and it's a new Godzilla. And then Pacific Rim 3, the aliens, as we know, they have portals to different universes. Pacific Rim 2 is going to explore some of these different worlds. The aliens could pull this new Godzilla and King Kong into the Pacific Rim 3 world that way. And we could potentially have an anti-hero Legendary Godzilla, the hero Legendary Godzilla in the trilogy, and then the Toho Godzilla. This leads, I'm going to preview my next video because this changes my next video a little bit. Legendary could even potentially do Godzilla vs. Godzilla at this point, because if they have their Legendary Godzilla that does Godzilla 2, Godzilla 3, and then he goes back to sleep after he beats King Ghidorah, they make a new Godzilla for the King Kong crossover and the Pacific Rim crossover. That would just be awesome. They could bring these two Godzillas together for one final Legendary Godzilla movie and call it King of the Monsters, Godzilla King of the Monsters, because that would be awesome to me to see Godzilla vs. Godzilla done one on the big screen. It's never been done before. It'll probably never be done. The closest we got to that was Godzilla vs. Ghost Godzilla, but that's another topic. Anyway, so we could potentially have Godzilla vs. King Kong. Legendary and Warner Brothers have got to be, and Universal, they've all got to be talking about this. I don't see them not doing this, considering Godzilla vs. King Kong, just the rumor of its announcement broke the internet. It made more headlines with big mainstream websites. ABC7, Good Morning America was talking about Godzilla vs. King Kong, and it's just a rumor at this point. It made more buzz for both films than Skull Island and Godzilla 2014 did combined. And every time you hear somebody talk about Pacific Rim, they're like, oh, Godzilla and King Kong should be in it. They all should fight. So these two movies have the potential to be huge for the monster, for the kaiju genre in general. I mean, King Kong vs. Godzilla in 1962 is still the highest grossing Godzilla film of all time in Japan, save, I don't know if it made more than Godzilla 14 in Japan. I think it did. But yeah, save Godzilla 98 and Godzilla 14 from their global box office versus King Kong vs. Godzilla in Japan. But yeah, in Japan, King Kong vs. Godzilla has made the most money of any Godzilla movie of all time. So that's saying something. Godzilla is a marketable character. King Kong is just as marketable. King Kong is a bigger draw than Mothra, Rodan, and King Ghidorah, even if Godzilla fans don't want to admit that. He is King Kong vs. Godzilla, and then King Kong and Godzilla in Pacific Rim 3. They have the potential to do big numbers. King Kong, they could even do $1 billion at the box office. I don't know if the Pacific Rim 3 could do it or if King Kong vs. Godzilla would do it, but between those two movies, if they're written good and they have good action and good story plots, they have the potential to do $1 billion at the box office. They have all the weapons at their disposal if they put King Kong and Godzilla together and do it right, or if they put King Kong and Godzilla in Pacific Rim 3 and do it right. Personally, as I said before, I would like a new Godzilla to be created by Legendary. Give him a modified roar, a modified look, maybe even a new breath to distinguish him from Legendary Godzilla. Make him fight King Kong, make him the villain in the movie, not like his force of nature self. Make Kong a villain too, but Kong should be the lesser of two evils. You feel for Kong because Kong, even though he's a villain by human standards, he's not as bad as Godzilla, who would be causing destruction everywhere. Kong could be kidnapped off his island again, for example. But yeah, Kong should not be as bad of a monster as Godzilla. Godzilla should be the villain. Kong should be the victor. And Kong, as far as how they match up, Godzilla is 355 feet in the Legendary series. I don't know if they'd downplay that if they made him bigger or smaller, but Kong only needs to get to like 210 feet against the 355 foot Godzilla. Kong doesn't have to be eye level with Godzilla. He just has to be big enough to where it looks good. There's some fan pictures online of the size I would like for King Kong Godzilla to be in this new film. And I think those are good size. Like I say, Kong should go up to like his head, top of his head should be a little under Godzilla's shoulders, in my opinion. Like, to where Kong is the underdog, but not too small to where Kong shouldn't even be able to hurt Godzilla. But yeah, that's how I think the height should be. As far as the setting, I wouldn't mind Godzilla. I personally would like Godzilla to win because he did lose against King Kong back in '62. But it wouldn't make or break the movie for me if King Kong beat Godzilla again. Especially if the end game is to take these two monsters and put them in Pacific Rim 3, because we know Godzilla is gonna kick ass in Pacific Rim 3. Even if he gets a rematch with Kong in there, I can see him winning. If he has to kick Gypsy Danger's ass, I see him doing that. But I see him just killing the kaiju from Pacific, Knifehead, Leatherback, Otochi, Slatner. I just see all of them getting their asses kicked. Godzilla is going to have his moment between the potential Pacific Rim 3 crossover. He's not going to make the fight with Kong and their potential crossover easy, and the Legendary universe, other than King Ghidorah, he's going to have plenty of time to shine. Godzilla is not going to look inferior to Kong or anybody as a result of these crossovers, to where Godzilla can lose to Kong in their crossover. It's not going to make or break the movie. And it's not going to make or break the movie. As I said before, my dream is for them to make a new Godzilla that's separate from the Godzilla trilogy, because then that gives us another Godzilla design. That gives the people who want Godzilla to be more of a bad guy their American Godzilla. And like I say, the potential dream for Godzilla versus Godzilla later down the line. I like all that. But yeah, King Kong versus Godzilla. As I say, Godzilla versus King Kong has potential to be huge for the monster genre. And for all the people that said it was never gonna happen, it would never happen again, we're closer than ever to it happening, folks. I mean, who thought 5 years ago we'd be getting a new Star Wars movie, or Spider-Man in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, or the Nicktoons, or Rugrats and Hey Arnold and them are getting rebooted and getting their own channel? I mean, I just saw Alvin and the Chipmunks on Nicktoons the other day, for example. This is the era of returns and reboots, and Hollywood is taking all these movies that we thought would never happen, and they're making them happen. I mean, so Alien vs. Predator 3, a good movie, and Freddy vs. Jason 2. I'm calling it right now, so when it happens, I called it. Yeah, Dragon Ball Z's back on TV and it's bigger than ever. This is a good day to be an anime and kaiju fan, a good era to have lived in. But yeah, Godzilla vs. King Kong. As big as Godzilla vs. King Kong was in 1962, do you know how much bigger it would be now that King Kong is an even bigger icon and Godzilla is an icon? Godzilla wasn't even an icon back when they fought in '62. Kong was the icon. Now they're on equal levels. I mean, this is the only way this could get huger is if Gamera and Ultraman joined in the fight somehow. Oh man, that would actually be a good. Could you imagine that? Godzilla versus Gamera versus King Kong versus Ultraman versus Pacific Rim would just be that would make $2 billion. I'm calling that right now. But yeah, now I'm just being a fan. Anyway, if you this is a good time for us fans. So yeah, as I said, as far as universe building goes, if King Kong shows up at least 200 feet in Skull Island, it won't be hard. I don't think it'll be hard to put him in the legendary universe, the legendary Godzilla universe, the way it is now. Because even though Godzilla in 2014 is the first kaiju we know about, Skull Island takes place on Skull Island. Monarch Tom Hiddleston's character could be an early Monarch. We know Monarch existed as far back as 1945, according to Godzilla Awakening. For sure, 1954 in Godzilla movie. They could have went to Skull Island, found out about Kong, kept it secret from the world, and Kong just shows up now because Godzilla's back. But if Skull Island is universe building, Kong just needs to be 200 feet or however big he needs to be to match Godzilla, and then Godzilla could appear in a post-credit scene. Don't show Godzilla, maybe show the spines or we hear the roar, but just something to let us know Godzilla is in Skull Island. I mean, it's not that hard to build the universe, but Skull Island is going to either make or break this idea, depending on how big Kong is. If Kong is his usual 25 to 50 foot self, we're not getting the crossover because Godzilla I don't think Godzilla is going to ever be shrunk down that low. It wouldn't even be Godzilla at that point, but blowing Kong up to, like I say, 150 feet, even if he was just 150 feet tall, that's still as big as the male Muto, and while Kong will be undermatched, it's a David versus Goliath fight. Kong wouldn't be too small to, like, hit Godzilla in the back of the head or fly off of buildings, but like I say, if Kong is at least 200 feet, 250 feet in Skull Island, I believe that is universe building, and that will lead to Godzilla vs. King Kong, whether it be a new Godzilla or whether it be in the Gareth Edwards universe. That's my opinion on the topic. Let's get Godzilla 2 with Mothra Rodan and Godzilla 3 with King Ghidorah. Let's get those two movies out the way, and then I'm all for Godzilla vs. King Kong, and the Pacific Rim 3 with Godzilla vs. King Kong would just be the ultimate dream movie. I can't wait for this to come out. I'm going to sit back. But like I said before, these are all rumors, so while it's okay to get excited, remember, if it doesn't happen, don't feel too bummed, but we're close as ever to it ever happening again. As far as Toho doesn't like crossovers, but King Kong is the exception to that rule. Toho will allow a King Kong versus Godzilla movie to happen, unless they're idiots, because Toho gets all the Godzilla profits in Japan, so they would be fools to not let an American Godzilla versus King Kong movie come out in Japan and not take advantage of the amount of money they're going to get. They would be, I don't think Toho is idiots. Otherwise, if Toho was to do this, everybody fly to Japan and burn their studio down. But that's a joke. Don't really do that. Okay, I'm out. I'm Miguel Newman. If you enjoyed this video, please like, rate, comment, and subscribe. Have an enjoyable day.